Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to the Charity Movement Podcast. My name is Kiera, and this is yet another week where we are going to premiere an amazing guest. This week's episode is called The Grace to Overcome, okay? And so today we are going to be very transparent, and you are going to be so blessed by the individual that I have today. She is not foreign to wearing many hats, okay? She is a wife, a mother, a minister. She is a former basketball player. She has been a basketball coach. She has worked in the corporate sector. She is widely known as the money mom who is coming to cancel poverty and those who have been stricken in their lives for generations. Okay, she's coming after every generational thing that the enemy has tried to set in our way. Okay, and with all of this, she still finds time to be accessible, transparent, and consistent. Okay, so we are in for a treat today because she is someone who has been very hands-on in the growth that y'all see today. 2 years ago, this was not the case without this woman right here, okay? So I want to invite Mrs. Toshauna Money Mom Burrell to the Charity Movement Podcast.
Yeah.
Hey! Did you like that introduction?
You did that, girl. I was over here like, hold on. Wait, nah, child. Kiera. Oh my God. That's a lot. Listen, I took notes on the intro. Is this the kind of podcast we're going to have today? I'm like, hold on. I'm going to have to tell somebody else to say this about me when they get... Thank you so much, sis. Thank you so much for having me and for those nice words you said. I can't believe that this movement, this growth that you've had, like God has allowed me to see it behind the scenes. And like coming on here today, it just brings everything full circle. I'm so glad that God just allowed us to cultivate this relationship and to see the seed prosper. And the harvest. I'm so proud of you, dude. I'm so proud of you, girl.
So as you can see, this is about to be a whole vibe, okay? Yeah. I'm so excited today because everything that I said in the introduction is actually who she is. Like, she does not pump fake. Like, this woman is the real deal. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about this Toshauna Money Mom Burrell. Where did the Money Mom originate?
Oh, let's get into it, child. Okay. So the Money Mom actually originated back in 2013. God actually gave me that name. And, you know, whenever it comes to me with any business or any projects, it's always making God the CEO of my business. But before I started to branch off into entrepreneurship, my husband and I, we actually had one of the most devastating financial times of our lives. In 2013, I was being groomed to become a CEO of my father's then company. And child, my whole daddy had to lay me off, okay?
Wow.
When you get fired, so to speak, or laid off by your father, it was because the company, it didn't go as planned. And he said, the best thing that I can do to save you and shelter you right now, you just had a baby, I'm going to go ahead and lay you off. And at that time, I realized that it was so very important for me to have the financial keys to my own financial economy. And you can't really rely on anybody. And so I went to my prayer closet like I always do.
Absolutely.
I went to my prayer closet, and it was not a prayer. It was a cry out like, Lord, I've always been independent. I've never been in this space. We went from, you know, a very well-off two income household to one. And I don't like feeling like that. Yeah. I don't like feeling like the one person that I go to protect me and shelter me had to do this to me. And so I said, Lord, if you ever put me in position to be my own boss, I'm going to impact millions. I'm going to help the world. And a few weeks later, he said, you're going to be the money mom now. It wasn't a few weeks, it was a couple months later. And when he said, call yourself the money mom, understand this was a time where we were our brokest.
Yeah.
We were still paying tithes. You couldn't tell. God did that thing. But I'm talking about there will be times where we have $5 for the week. And I'm trying to figure out, where do kids eat free at, so that I can go and take my kids to eat free. And so when God will tell you you're going to be called the money mom, you looking like, bro, I don't got no money. I'm a mama, but so
Wow.
yeah, so it was birthed back in 2013 after hardship. And then again, it was just, you were called at that time, but it wasn't the fullness of time until a couple years ago. So
That's amazing.
that's
That
how
is
he worked, though.
amazing.
That's how he worked. You be anointed, like David was anointed to be the king, but it wasn't his time. You're always anointed early, right? You're called early, but you
Yeah,
have to become what God has called you to be. And I hadn't become the money mom. I was given the anointing back in 2013, but I had to become her today.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I also know, like, you have a lot of things. Okay, so you're the money mom, but you also have an organization and a movement known as the Addison Grace Project.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that as well?
Sure. Yeah. When she said I wear many hats, y'all.
Okay, because I'm about to name a good like four.
That part. Listen, I got businesses like I got wigs. Okay, I just
Multiple.
put
All
them
right.
on. Listen, no more broke, child. But no, so the Addison Grace Project, that's our testimony. That's our love seed to the world,
Yeah.
right? That is me really living out. They overcame him by, the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. That was a testimony that came to life. And it was something that definitely helped me and my husband fight through, definitely hands down the hardest time in our marriage, when we lost our daughter Addison in 2018, over the course of February 7th to February 9th. So the Addison Grace Project was for, during that time, Kiera, those 3 days, I was literally, I feel like I was having an out of body experience in transitioning my daughter. And God just began to download, and he helped me cope by giving me work. He knows that I'm a hustler. He knows that I'm a worker. So he gave me a project. He said, listen, I gave you the name of the child because that child has legacy, right? And so while I was coping through one of the hardest and most devastating times, miscarriage, in my life, he gave me a project to work on so that I can give back to other women. And so that's what happened. That it wasn't a decision to start the Addison Grace Project. It was more like, okay, you're called to help other women that have went through this, but not just those women that went through it, the Christian woman, the
Yeah.
praying woman, the one that can get up and go to church on Sunday and know all the right things to say, but then go home and you struggling with depression and grief and anxiety. And they need to still know that I'm God, even in death, even in grief. So you just crazy enough to just talk about it. So that's what
Absolutely.
that was.
Okay. So with that being said, okay, what was that moment like when you are transitioning through the grief and all of those 3 days of struggle? What was it like initially when the Lord was like, this is what you're going to do? This is the project you were going to work on. What was your initial reaction?
I talk about it in the book. I talk about the 5 words that surrounded the room, and one of them was denial.
Yeah.
Um, it was a lot of denial. It was neglect. I immediately neglected myself, my feelings, my emotions. I made it be about my husband. I made it be about the kids, right?
Yeah.
I totally became a superwoman in the sense of I wanted to do way more work. And it was like, I'm too busy to deal with this. It was total denial, right? Those first 3 days, even though I thank him for giving me an out of body experience to have a presence of mind to start writing what I was doing, I was neglecting, I was deflecting, I was denial. I wasn't dealing with church stuff. I wasn't dealing with God. I didn't, I just was on autopilot. And I was like that for several months, until I got the book all the way out. I mean, our story, we lost two more. I don't think I really dealt with um, the issue until maybe November of that year. So,
Wow.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you brought up a word, and it is becoming such a dichotomy of a word because it's good things attached to that word. And it's also now becoming a pretty interesting concept that we talk about. And you said superwoman.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the balance between being a superwoman who is consistently coming through for people and going toward the opposite way of it becoming detrimental to your mental, emotional, spiritual self?
Oh, that's a good one. First of all, you said the dichotomy. Okay. Okay, podcast got you using big words. I said, oh, am I educated enough to be out here, Lord?
I'm done.
Woo, okay, the didactical. Okay. So I'm silly girl.
I
So
know.
here's what I would say to that. Here's what that whole experience has taught me, because a superwoman almost killed me. Okay. Physically, it almost killed me mentally. It almost killed my marriage. It almost killed me spiritually. Me trying to do everything in my own strength.
Wow.
I definitely am for the hashtag death to the superwoman, because she should not exist,
Mm-mm.
period.
She shouldn't have to.
She shouldn't have to. What happens with a superwoman is you neglect the fact that you have to take advantage of your super tribe. You have to not just be a superwoman.
Yes. Super fun.
Oh, we finna get so many sound bites. I feel it. I feel the Lord downloading right now. We finna have so many sound bites. But you also have to be able to really relish in the supernatural. When you get to the point to where you feel like I gotta do this, I gotta do this, she got this many hats. Like when you can go down and say, okay, Toshauna, what you doing this week, that week, that week, that. It's not me being a superwoman, it's me operating in my supernatural. It's me leaning on God. It's me listening to the priorities of those seasons. When a woman has to become a superwoman, what she's saying is she has over prioritized so many areas in her life and she's trying to do it all. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So you can't find the middle between the superwoman and you got to death to the superwoman. You got to pump your tribe up, realize who God has given you in your life in that season, and know that those are the superheroes in your life, because you need a team. You need a team to be great. And then you always have to have those times and those moments where you are definitely in your closet and you are pulling on your supernatural. God says, my grace is sufficient. So you got to be operating in the supernatural grace of God at all times. And he'll give you the priorities and he'll show you what you need to do in each season. Period.
Period.
Mm.
Period. There's nothing else to say. Okay.
Girl.
So, looking at the Toshauna that you are today, when you look back at younger Toshauna, maybe teenage Toshauna, what are the changes, like the pivotal changes that you see between the two? Come on now, we're getting deep. We're trying to help the
I
people.
wouldn't save my whole life, right?
But I think that is so important to tell, because a lot of people who are in the church will give a perspective of the closeness with God as it being something that has always been there. We want people to know that this is a journey. This is not just something that you're like, oh, I just arrived and you stay there. No, there's levels to this. And I think that it's important to tell a part of that, because who you are today is amazing. And people need to know that There are levels. There are levels. So can you tell us about, what you've learned over time and who you were a little bit?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that I look at me today, um, and then reflecting back on who I used to be, was I didn't know myself and I didn't really love myself.
Wow.
Right. Um, I was a performer. And I was a performer up until probably my mid-20s. I can say I probably was a performer until God allowed me to take the mask off at 25, right?
Hello.
Take the mask off. Short plug. Go ahead and tap into Amazon and get your copy. So yeah, though, I was somebody that I was a performer because growing up, for some reason, I was popular but not popular. Like I was known,
Mm.
but people didn't like me though. And I always wanted to have friends,
Yeah.
And so I didn't make friends very easy. So I retreated and it caused me to be very insecure. It wasn't until people found out, oh, you hoop. Oh, you hoop. Now you got friends. Now, oh, she can play ball. Okay. So for a long time, instead of hooping being something I did, I made that be who I was. And
Wow.
so it was just because that's what got the people. I love people, but people wouldn't have known that because they didn't like me, child. I didn't know that it was the anointing maybe back then, but
Mhm.
but that's what it was. I didn't like myself. And so I clung to things that would make people like me, and I called them my identity. And so I had to go through a time of learning to love myself. I masked things with alcohol. I know I don't look like it. Child, she was a whole hot mess with a bottle. Oh, sorry, the churchy people that's like, oh my God. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that
Look
was
at
me.
God.
Don't look like what you've been through, child.
Come on
Yep.
now.
So he cleaned me all the way up. And then he showed me who I was. And I value who I am. And now I'm unapologetically me because God fearfully and wonderfully made me this way. So yeah, I
I
love
think
me, child.
you better love you. Okay. So along with You're the Money Mom and you
Mhm,
have the Addison Grace Project,
mhm.
you also have Mothers Like Us University. Okay. And that's a whole movement all in its own. I have been a recipient and a graduate of, of Mothers Like Us
You better plug
University.
it. You better
You
plug it.
listen, there will be so many plugs because you do so many things. So for Mothers Like Us University, what is that? And how did you get that idea?
Ooh, now you about to make me cry, child. Mm-mm.
We
I ain't
both
about to.
gonna be crying on this thing. I already feel it.
Woo!
I knew it. I was aware.
Okay, so let's just talk about how God works and how he brings everything to the fullness. Had it not been for the pain that I experienced with the Addison Grace Project, I never would have been walking in purpose. And my true purpose is to help women like me activate their voice, really stimulate their prayer life. And through prayer is where we find purpose, right? And when you find purpose, I always say purpose pays, purpose brings prosperity. And when I'm talking about prosperity, I'm not just talking about money, although I help you get to a nice little bag. Okay. I'm talking about your health. I'm talking about your spiritual prosperity. And so Mothers Like Us University was derived because I wanted women to experience the same freedom I got when I started to activate my voice through prayer, through telling my story, whether it was on a podcast, whether it was through a book, whether it was through speaking to the whole world. It's a freedom in it. But
Yeah.
then I realized that, as moms, we think, I got a kid, life got to slow down. As wives, I have a husband, what is the culture of our home? And it never becomes about you. It never becomes about what God has given you. And my whole approach in prayer was, God, you made me a helpmeet. And so I am a help to this union. I'm a help to my family, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a service all the time. What gifts have you given me that will be service, not just to my husband, not just to my children, but to our overall vision? Right. And
Absolutely.
so I created Mothers Like Us because I wanted us to be able to know that if you can activate your voice, you can get a strong prayer life, you have a story. And another mom needs to hear it. Another woman needs to hear it. And so we got to get that thing out. And it was something that merged everything God gave me. It merged the prayer from Addison Grace. It merged the prosperity from, the money mom, because I'm gonna teach you how to get a bag, and I'm gonna teach you how to share your story. And then we're gonna come together. We're gonna pray. Anything we do, we're gonna put some word in it. So
Mm-hmm.
that was like the culmination of who I am. And now it's just growing. And it's just I'm able to just insert everything God has given me into that one brand.
So, number one, it is amazing that you started Mothers Like Us University, because I know that I think I've said it to people, or maybe I told this story when I came out with Take Off the Mask, my book, but I sat for 18 months trying to write this book with no avail, because I couldn't get past the bitterness and the grief and the pain of that was just postpartum depression. But maybe 2, 3 weeks before I released the book, I went through, and this woman walked me through my miscarriage. And so to have things continue to come full circle of her going through something and her being my Naomi to keep me through it, it just shows you that this is not just something that she has ideas for and she just jumps at it. These things are filled with purpose. Like there's purpose washed in every word that she wrote in every book and every curriculum she put together for every program. And so I bring that up because a lot of time, even as believers, we operate in ways that are not in purpose. So how important is it for us, even in business, to walk in purpose?
Kara, you hitting me, man. You trying to make me go there because, you know, child. You trying to, whoo, not today, not these lashes.
Not
Oh,
the
no.
Oh,
Woo! Oh, my God. It's so important because of this right here, impact. It's because of the impact, right? It's because God says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. Its purpose is so important because it directly connects you to what God has called you to do. And if God has called you to something, that means there's a person with your purpose on them. It's a purpose. Like we say, it's a blessing with my name on it. It's a person with your name on it.
yeah,
It's a person that is connected to what you have from heaven that you have to invade the earth with. And so when we're not operating in purpose, we're not creating the impact, and God is not getting the glory that he needs.
absolutely.
Whenever I set out to do a curriculum or wherever he gives me an idea, like the reason why this is tripping me out right now is because you never get a chance to see, sometimes you don't ever get to see the purpose laid out in front of you. It just so happens that he would allow me to pour into my friend. And that's why I think one of the things I said when you join Mothers Like Us University is that, it's really hard to mentor your friend
Yeah.
because they know you, and it's like, you better come with it, Peach. What you got for me this week? And then also there's the walls that will never come down. And so it's like, for God to allow me to operate in purpose and it impacts a friend, and for me to be able to see the glow up and, walk through the heal method with you. And then the book come out, it's like, hey, God, it's so fulfilling when God uses you to act. So we gotta make sure that we're operating in purpose, because you never know, somebody else's purpose is dependent on you doing what you're supposed to do. Now, how many women are connected to you that you serve it? I couldn't connect to them. God had to put you in position. I can't talk to all them. Child, you got friends now. Y'all doing bonfires and teas and listen. I couldn't have got to them because God still got me having babies over here. So I couldn't have made the bonfire, child. I'm changing pampers. But man, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's the way that God uses us as many members in one body. And I love it.
Amazing. And now that we've talked about purpose, let's talk about faith, okay? Because we know that in the word of God, it says that without faith, it is impossible to please God. So, how important is it for our faith to be activated in the purpose?
Ooh, child. I think that we say faith without works is dead, right? And when you are doing a work, you have to be able to have the foresight and the vision. See, for me, faith is important because it is what fuels my vision.
Wow.
Right? And you have to have vision whenever you're walking in purpose, whenever God is giving you something. And when you have vision, right, the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain. And then it also talks about speaking those things that are not as though they were. Like your vision and your words in activating and bringing that purpose to pass, it all just kind of connects. Faith comes by hearing, right? Hearing comes by hearing the word of God. And a lot of times we just think that is us being in church on Sunday. But if you are a CEO of your business, if you are running something that is God driven, he's going to speak words to you.
Yeah.
When God speaks a thing, you got to be able, or he speaks something to you here, you got to be able to speak it, to create it. You got to say it so you can see it. The more you say it, faith comes by hearing, you'll believe it. Because when you on the road to building charity, podcast, movement, you writing books, people are watching, and the enemy will try to steal things in its infancy stage. And if you not faith driven, if you ain't speaking over yourself, if you not just head on about what God has shown you, then the enemy will win before you ever get to the point to where you impact people. Like you really you got to protect your faith. Right? You got to speak over your faith. You got to speak over the vision. Otherwise, the enemy will take that thing. So faith is super duper important. I would not be here without it. Faith gets tried. So don't quit. For those of you that are watching or listening and you have a God idea, understand everything around you will testify against the idea. So you have to speak it, whatever God told you, so that you can hear it and your faith come to fruition. So faith is important.
So let's talk a little bit about endurance. Okay, let's talk a little bit about endurance because I know that you not just being all of the things that you are, but you being my friend, I know that with everything that you have gone through, you weren't the only one affected. But like you said, your children were affected, but also your husband was affected. So how did you guys make the decision to endure? Can you speak to even like the younger married couples or the married couples in general that need to know how to endure beyond the pain?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So full transparency is important. Understanding that, beyond the pain, understanding that it's not their job to hurt like you hurt. It's not their job to, and this goes either way, right? I'm going to take, for example, when we lost Addison after the first miscarriage, right? One of the things that had me upset was I said, well, you don't know what it's like to carry a child and lose a child. Right. And so I wanted him to hurt how I hurt. And then when he tried to compensate for that, I would say, well, you don't know what it's like. You didn't carry it. Right. And then my husband said something to me and he was like, well, you don't know what it's like to carry the seed that implanted the baby. Said, I've been going around thinking that I gave you a defective seed and I can't heal you,
Wow.
Listen. And so understanding that whenever trials come, whenever tragedy hits, whenever life starts to just crumble around you, there are two different perspectives, but the pain still hits the same. And
Yeah.
so you have to be conscious that maybe you don't hurt like I hurt. Maybe you didn't experience it like I experienced it, but we still hurting. So how do we get together and come together so that we can get over this together? So we endured because we had to be able to understand and not care about being understood. We had to look at the pain point and say, okay, what is our best method of attacking this pain point? For some people, that pain point may be we need to go to counseling together. We need to seek counsel outside of us, right? For us, it was talking, and it was prayer, and it was like, for me, my husband is a word man. So I had to ask God, you gotta give me the word to say to him. And the Lord said the scriptures will bring him back. And so I knew, we both ministers. I knew what the scripture meant that God gave me to tell my husband, but I had to, babe, what do this mean?
Yeah.
And I say the scripture.
Yeah.
You know how we gotta do sometimes, wives. We gotta just be so, what, honey? So for us, we word based. So the word brought us back. And let me tell you something. If you are a couple, whatever, whether you believe God or not, you need the word in your marriage, right? And you have to build an altar. You got to build an altar together and take that pain to the Lord together.
Yes.
Like I think about every place in the Bible where there was some kind of tragedy or triumph, it always says, and Noah built an altar and David built an altar. And
Yes.
so whenever something hits, if you come out of it, build an altar. While you going through it, build an altar. That just simply means coming together, praying, and saying this is a place that we dedicated for God to come in and step in. And so that's what we had to do. Whenever we need to endure something, it's like, okay, let's take this to the altar. So he has his prayer life, I got my prayer life, but we also have an altar where we're praying together intentionally to battle some stuff.
That's amazing. And that says a lot, building your altar together. Because a lot of times we look at people, even couples going through, trials and tribulations, and we look at it separately.
Yeah.
But the Bible talks a lot about marriage and God joining us together. And there are some things that you got to fight together. There are some things you got to combat together because both people can't be strong at the same time.
That
Or
part.
they won't be strong all the time. And both people won't be weak all the time. And so we have to strengthen each other. And I think that that is amazing that you guys went through that and that you guys are able to encourage others about that. So we talked about Addison Grace Project, and that book that you wrote along with your husband was called Adding Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that's not the only book that this woman has authored. She's also authored Voice the Vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it is declarations of God's promises to release your vision. You can find both of those books on Amazon. And she is an amazing author because not only is she writing truth, but she's also writing with the word of God. Everything this woman says was backed up with the word of God. I have both of those books upstairs in my library.
I know you fact checked it too, because you're a walking little Bible. You probably was reading the book like, yep, that's right. King James version. Yep.
I was like, she did it. I said, she did it. So I also appreciate her way of writing because as a fellow believer, it was easy for me to look at her book for even those that are looking to write books and they are believers as well, like looking at how she wrote the book and then comparing it to, okay, Lord, this is my message that you gave me. Okay, but how do I take things like even like the structure? It was great because I didn't have to look 100 different places to find structure because she had a great realistic structure to her books and they're very easy to read. So that's just a little plug to go on Amazon, buy them books, so she can still keep pushing being a money mom, period. Um,
I love
So
it.
you have Ava, Avery, Ashton, and Isaiah. Okay. How do you get things done?
Oh, child. What?
We need all the tips. We need all
All
the
the
tips.
tea. All the tea. Okay. So, and I love this. Like, this is like a mystery, right? Mom is like, how are you the Proverbs 31? How do you get that? When I tell you I dissected that book, I'm like, hold on. Now, what she did and how she did. So as of recently, when God has given me more grace to do more things, I realized that there was a version. All right, I've been through every version of the Proverbs 31, right, where it talks about her having maid servants. Okay, and so I interpreted that as, you know what, this woman had a team. This woman didn't do this thing by herself. She got up at the wee hours of the night. She was making stuff. She was negotiating. She was a whole, I'm like, hold on now. I killed myself my first 4 years of marriage with them 3 kids trying to be the Proverbs thing. I was like, wait a minute. So basically, so I have what I call the shameless plug. I have a program on this, right? The 3 P's, right? And that is prayer, prioritizing, and preparation. There's 2 more, right? But it's actually 5 P's, but it's 2 more. You're gonna have to buy the course to get that. But
Hello, buy the course.
But listen, so I always be praying about, okay, God, first of all, what is a priority in this season? Because sometimes what you have a priority as a 10 on your list, right? Or top priority, maybe it's like a 1 on your list, okay? It's like a 10 on God's list, right?
Mm.
And so if you're operating at a 1 priority and God is like, that's not important right now, you gonna get the superwoman syndrome. You're gonna be trying to do everything out in your strength, and God is saying that's not what I called you to do this season. So you got to pray to find out, what is God speaking to me about my priorities, and then you prioritize. Once you prioritize, then comes the preparation. I have found a way to prep my family. I prep. I have a day of prep, and I have many hands make light works. Okay, and I have about 6 of those little bitty hands. Okay, I got 3 kids. They all got 2 hands.
There you go.
And so that they're my little team. And everything that mommy does, I include them in it. If I have a business project, if I have a goal, we're having a meeting. Hey, mommy is trying to get this goal done. When I'm on lives, like I always am, my kids know, like you wouldn't have known, but one of them came in just now. They saw that mommy was having a live, and they're like, because we make it good. I make a game with them, and I employ them. Hey guys, many hands, and they get little jobs on Sunday. They get to make their lunches for the week. Hey, mama ain't got time to make 3-4 lunches for the week.
Hello.
Yeah, they get, and so I just do little things like that to prep. I get their clothes ready. But recently, when it comes to like housework and stuff, child, I hired somebody with that. I can't, I can clean up, but I make sure I have a maid that comes in and take care of my house to maybe every 2 weeks, or maybe every 3 to 4 weeks, come in and do a deep clean for me. Because what I've learned is that helps me not be so frantic, or, really get other tasks done. And then also, God has put me in a position where I can cut the check and I don't feel bad about it. I'm helping somebody else's household, bring in income for the month. So that's my little tip. Preparation, and get you a team.
Get you a team.
Get you a
And
team.
get you a team, because, and I want to say this, even when we were bringing up the superwoman syndrome, is getting you a team to assist you does not make you any less of a
Mm-mm,
powerful woman. And I think that
mm-mm.
we have to cancel that thought and that narrative that once
Please
we
do.
ask for help, that makes us weak, or that makes us incapable of doing things on our own. If we were supposed to do things on our own, God wouldn't have made Eve for Adam.
That part. Bring it out, Key.
God would not have aligned us to be together. Why would the Lord tell us that, assembling ourselves is good and friendship is good if we could do it all by ourselves? If Jesus could do it all by himself, there would be no disciples.
Listen.
So you need to get you some friends. See, that's why
Yes.
I said on Facebook, we gonna get y'all some friends.
Friends. Okay? Get the bonfire in the tea. Come on now, y'all. Get your charity, okay? Get you some friends, sip you some charity. That's what we need to do next now. We need to get you some tea.
Listen, it's already in the works, okay?
That's the, okay, there it is, right there. After this, we gonna cut this off and I'll be like, all right, what we doing next, okay?
Okay.
Get you a team, get you somebody that points to you. Stop feeling like you have to be able to balance it all. I just got to say this, Kiera, because a lot of times people ask me, how do you balance it? How do you balance everything? And the honesty is, I just have order. There is no such thing as balance for me personally. I thought there was, but there's order. There are some days where I'm super mom and I'm winning and I'm all about the kids. And then there's days where I am super money mom and my kids are like, you better go, mommy. You better. Mommy, how many people get in the business? What? And it's like that's just the dynamics, right? And so I had to get comfortable knowing that, listen, I'm not going to be able to be super mom and super businesswoman at the same. I'm not going to be balanced. They're never going to be equal, but I can have order. And so God is a God of order, not balance.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And I also want to say, get some people on your team that know more than you. You should not be the smartest person in your circle. Not saying that you're not smart, okay? We know you're intelligent, whoever you are out there. But get you some people that you desire to get where they are. Because it will give you the fuel that you need to not be mundane and mediocre. It will teach you to be accountable to someone other than your thoughts, because if our only job is to be accountable to you, that's the reason why I joined Mothers Like Us University, because I wasn't being accountable to myself and I was giving myself too much grace. Okay, grace is one thing. I was giving myself too much grace. Kiera, you got to get up in the middle of the night to take care of Titus. You can't write these pages. When I had Toshauna like, okay, your stuff is due next week. I'm like, oh. But accountability will equate to results.
Period.
So I just want us to know that there is nothing wrong with having a circle of people. And we definitely have to get out of this mindset of this lack of sisterhood that a lot of people have, where it's like, well, I don't want to depend on her because what if she, stop being my friend, or what if these people get fake? We are too old.
Yeah, bring that
to
up.
even think that way. We should be thinking well of people because we need each other. Like your first thought in terms of sisterhood and accountability should not be, this person is going to take advantage of me. This person is going to steal my idea. If it's purpose, nobody can steal it. See, but that's why we got to go back to the conversation about purpose. When it's purpose, nobody's going to steal your idea. They're going to fuel it. And they can't do it like you.
That's it. There's so many women out there that have written books. There are so many people and women that have programs and platforms like Mothers Like Us University, have podcasts. The thing about it is, when you are a person of faith and you walk with God, there is an audience that is called to you. God says, I will summon nations that you knew not. And so you cannot think, that's a scarcity mindset, Kiera. You have to think abundantly that you're called. And there are people that only respond to you. See, it didn't take nothing for me to help Kiera, because I know she has a unique voice. And there are people that are going to respond to her. It's people that's watching this podcast right now that can't stand me right now, probably. Like, I could never do Mothers Like that. But Kiera, if you did Mothers Like that, I would surely do. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to be comfortable with you and who you're called to. And then you have to have, me and my sister was talking about this. It takes nothing away from you to say, hey, this person helped me get to where I am. This
Absolutely.
person, if it was not been for her, if it was not been for, because that does nothing but build you up. And it shows, like you said to me earlier, that people want to see the glow up. It shows that you just didn't appear and have it all, because people want stuff that's duplicatable, right?
Yeah.
It's duplicatable. Like writing a book is duplicatable. You said, girl, I looked at her book and saw the structure and listen, and I write how I talk. Okay. I don't even listen. That's why I self-publish, because I didn't want nobody to be like, Toshauna, bruh is not a word. Bruh. It is today.
That's amazing though, because everything that you have accomplished, I have accomplished, those around us have accomplished, it's attainable. And we show them. And that's why I love social media, because you can give a step-by-step progress of who you are and how you got to where you are, so that people can see, like you said, I didn't just pop up out of nowhere. I came from somewhere. I got to where I am. And one of the things that I really appreciate Toshauna about is always, even before we started on this journey of authorship and planning stuff and all of that, I got close to Toshauna because we both came from the hood. So I was just like, oh,
project chick.
I was like, oh, yeah, I can do it, because I think from the outside looking in, people be like, okay, well, Kiera is this, or Toshauna is, they just here, you know what I'm saying? But when you go back, okay,
yeah,
the struggling for lights and gas and water, you know what? That makes everything that God has purposed in us mean more. Because when you come from nothing, you never want to go back to nothing. And I think a lot of people need to understand that's nothing to be ashamed of. That's fuel. So that you'll never, even in the word of God, I love how God said, the enemies that you see right now, you're not going to see them no more.
Come on, preacher.
So I'm blessed. I'm blessed by everything that Toshauna, the money mom girl, is. Okay. I thank her mama and her daddy for having her.
Yes. Come on, shout them out.
Okay. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having her. So before we end this podcast, is there anything that you would like to announce? Anything that you have coming up? Anything that you would like the listeners to know before we come off today?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I need to give honor to my lovely, lovely, lovely best friend, number one supporter, Ace Boone. If I could never do any of this had it not been for my husband,
Come on now,
Avery Jawan William Brown Jr. Like he is my everything, and that man supports me like no other. He knows I'm an alpha female. You know what I'm saying? But he is my rock, my ride or die. He pushes me, he cheers me on. Like when it comes to life, he's like, he make me feel like I'm playing life, like I'm playing ball, like he in the stands, like, yeah, and cross him over. It's just like, it's everything. And so I want to encourage people that, marriage is still what's up.
yes.
The union between a woman and a man is still like lit. Okay. That thing that God created is honorable. And so you don't have that, keep seeking God for that. Keep believing him for that. And don't settle. Right. So I just wanted to say that. Thank God for my husband. Anytime. It's my rider. Babe, if you watching, listen, I did it. I did what you asked me to say. That's my homeboy. So I wanted to shout him out. But then, yes, I have a couple of things that are coming up, a couple of projects that I want to share. And guess what? Y'all getting the tea, because this ain't even been told yet.
We're getting the tea because this is charity. I'm telling you.
I figured what way I got to spill it on charity.
You got
right?
to. You got
to, right? So actually, our anniversary is November 26th. On November 26th, you'll be able to get your own copy of Speak to Him, right? A wife's secret weapon to bringing the best out of her husband. So that is my next book, right?
I need to pre-order that one.
And so it's actually the anniversary of my first book, Adding Grace, which I released on our anniversary as well. And so I'm releasing that right now. And I would definitely get you all of the details. But that's what's coming up for me. So wives, girlfriends, fiancés, wives in waiting, go ahead and get that so you understand what it takes, okay, to really create an atmosphere in your house that is conducive to your husband being everything that God called him to be. Because they might be the head, but they can't turn or do nothing without the neck. So I tell you, come on now, how you gonna be that neck, girl?
Come on now.
Yeah. So yes, absolutely, you definitely want to go and cop that. Follow me on Facebook, Toshauna Burrell. Instagram, Toshauna Burrell, and let's connect. Let's connect and see if you can be the next author and podcast host and speaker, right? Coming out of Mothers Like Us University. I would love that. I would definitely love that. And then again, Kiera, shout out to you. Shout out to Charity Movement Podcast. All the many things that God is doing for you in your life. You deserve it. Shout out to B-Nard, you know what I'm saying? Like
my baby daddy.
Your baby daddy, right? For just, really just being that head and letting you just be who God has called you to be unapologetically, right? The team that you guys have over there. So I'm so proud of you again. Thank you for having me. I love you. I support you. I can't wait to the next book.
Thank you. It's so funny. It's so funny. Someone messaged me on Instagram yesterday, the day before, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm reading your book, and it has been changing my life. Like I've been applying each chapter to my life." And she was like, "I just want to know."
Ain't that wonderful?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And she was like, "I just want to know, like, can I prepare for your next book?" And I was like, "Huh? What you say?" But I can roll back into Mothers Like Us. I said, "Okay."
You got the tea. You got all the tea. Now
You're a returning member. They're gonna be like, "Oh, she's back again." Okay, but no, seriously, and even for my husband, I got to do what he told me to do. He told me to do it on the air so that y'all remember, because y'all so busy. He said, "When are y'all and us gonna get together before the end of the year?" Okay, so he told me to do it. So when Bernard listens to this, I just want to let you know, babe, I did it. I did it for
on
you,
the air.
Wherever you are.
We were supposed to come to Flint on Monday. We was gonna be in Flint on Monday, and then we had the stuff with his grandma. But it ain't nothing but a word. We travel every Saturday, so we can get on the highway. I'll talk to Juwan. We ain't got nothing up this Saturday. We'll roll through.
Absolutely.
That's how we do it.
Absolutely. And we'll have snacks for the kids. I always got snacks at the house. Okay.
Maybe want to stay tonight. That's we can stay over.
My house is big enough.
They call you Titus's mom. Titus's mom.
I have no identity now. I just want to let you guys know.
That part. Yay!
Oh my goodness. But let me just say again, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. Thank you so much for being transparent, as you always are, and always dropping words of wisdom for every person that is listening. I want you to know this is life-changing. The things that people are going to learn during this time is life-changing. I've taken notes on my piece of paper because all of them are good quotes. They're great quotes. Okay. Everything you say is quotable. It's quotable. So again, go get her book. Okay. Voice the vision, Adding Grace. And now Speak to Him. Okay. November 26th. Okay. Coming hot.
Hey,
okay.
You better say it.
And she's also the money. Okay. And she's also the money mom. She has Mothers Like Us University. and she's always still pushing the Addison Grace Project. Okay. So thank you so much to Shauna for coming on today. I love you. And again, thank you to everyone that has been listening on the podcast. And again, this is the Charity Movement Podcast. And remember that the only one stopping you is you. See you soon.
Yeah.